Peter Obi accused Inec of being biased, insisting that it ought to maintain neutrality in electoral contests between candidates. Welcome to STR0NG News, where we bring you news and information. Please like, share and subscribe to be part of this platform as we give you the full details. The presidential candidate of the Labour Party, Mr. Peter Obi, has accused the Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) of bias, insisting that it ought to maintain neutrality in electoral contests between the candidates. Obi, in a reply, he filed before the Presidential Electoral Petition Court (PEPC), cited the electoral body for filing a preliminary objection in support of the president-elect and candidate of the ruling All Progressive Congress (APC), Mr. Bola Tinubu. He noted that both the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal had in the past cautioned INEC not to place itself in a position where imputation of partiality in favor of one party against another would be leveled against it. Specifically, Obi, who came third in the presidential election that had on February 25th, recalled that the appeal court had in the case of Attorney General of the Federation, Abubakar, in 2007, emphasized the Electoral Commission must not only embrace neutrality as its watchword but must always remain fair and focused. According to Peter Obi, the first respondent, forgetting its role as an electoral empire, gave a notice to preliminary objection to challenge the alleged incompetence of the petition. The global best practice for electoral umpires in national election is that an electoral body must avoid creating the impression that it has no respect for neutrality in an electoral contest between candidates. The appellate court have repeatedly admonished the first respondent of its need to remain neutral in election proceedings. However, the first respondent therefore has reminded impervious to change. Therefore, it is not only an embarrassment but a repudiation of the duty of the first respondent, who is adored in the grasp of a contestant in an election it conducted, as an umpire to raise preliminary objection against an election petition as in the case hereof. The expectation is that INEC will maintain a neutral stance in all litigation where participants in elections are challenging the outcome of the elections and not dodge in filing objection of the petition. The petitioners will therefore, or at the pre-hearing session or at the hearing of the petitioner, urge the Honorable Court to strike out and or to dismiss the first respondent notice preliminary object, Obi added. Besides, he described a misconceived INEC preliminary objection against the petition he lodged against the declaration of Tinubu as winner of the presidential election. The first respondent's contention that the relief sought in the petition are not grantable is fast and made in manifest disagreed of the specific and conscience pleading in the petition. The pleading in the first respondent notice of preliminary objection that the allegation in paragraph 20 of the petition is defective and does not disclose a cause of action is wishful thinking. Obi further contended that Tinubu was not elected by majority of lawful votes cast at the election, added that the appeal court, which will sit at the tribunal for the presidential election dispute, has the requisite jurisdiction to entertain and determine the real issue in the petition. The petitioners further averred that the necessary parties are required by law for the determination of the instant petition are there before the Honorable Court. The Honorable Court has the requisite jurisdiction to entertain and determine the real issue in this petition. More so, Obi contended that Tinubu running mate and Vice President-elect Kashim Shettima was not valid nominated to contest the presidential election. as at the 14th July 2022, when the third respondent was nominated as the vice presidential candidate of the fourth respondent. The third respondent was still the senatorial candidate of the fourth respondent from the Borno Central Senatorial District, his name not having been withdrawn by default. Obi told the court that though Labour Party had agents that were positioned at various polling units during the conduct of the election, he said Inec unfortunately failed and neglected to give clear copies of the results of the election in the polling unit to the petitioner's agent, at the pink copies given to the petitioner agent were very fat and unreadable. In reply to the new issue raised in paragraph of the first respondent reply, the petitioner averred that the actual votes obtained at the polling unit, as shown in the report incorporated pledge in the petition, show that the petitioners won majority of the lawful vote cast at the election and met the constitutional requirement to be returned declared as the winner of the election. Said by Peter Obi, what is going on right now is not that Obi is accusing the APC or the Inec that they are biased, but he is just telling them the main truth of it all, because Inec is on one direction, so they are not telling us or giving us what the law is talking about. They are just doing their own things. Even the Supreme Court, the same thing they are doing. That is why Obi has come out to tell them in their face that they are doing bias in this chaos, because they just want the APC to continue and the other side to become a loser. We all already know that they will never judge this case according to the way it's supposed to be. Okay, let's take a look at this. When the 25th election came out, after the election, let's look at this point. Who called the result? Was it not Inec that called the results that Bola Tinubu won the presidential election? So those the same people, what did you expect them to come out and tell us today? Even though this court case will take 2 years, will take 3 years, they will still stand on their words that it's Bola Tinubu that won the election. So what are we not talking about here? If Peter Obi comes out and say that they are doing bias, that is the main truth. That is the fact of it all. So guys, just leave your thoughts. What you think concerning this video, concerning what Peter Obi has come out to say, because he make us to understand the whole process and he quoted the whole process, how it's supposed to work. Thank you all for watching. I will see you all in our next video and remain blessed.